from Dark, of course. So what's the chances he pulls the drones?
On 2K, I actually wouldn't be too shocked. We've seen Dark do this quite a few times, and I guess we'll figure that out real soon. I don't know if it's necessary. I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised, because this happens so often, and it has happened so many times over the last few years. We get hyper excited for ZVZ between Europe's best and Korea's best, and the Koreans, they're always aggressive. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I want to say over the last 6 months, it worked more often than not, and here we go. We're going to pull at least a couple. We're going to build some spine crawlers, and then we're going to pull the rest as well to protect these spine crawlers. Short and sweet is what game 1 is going to be, Wardy. And Serral's is going to have the absolute best defense possible.
Yep, and he's fallen, foul of it a few times now. This has been a build which has worked well against him. So can he get it done here today in the first map of his in IEM Katowice? He is looking to try and spot this, but he does get a vision on those drones, so he knows it. He can start thinking about it and figure out exactly what he would like to do. He sends his own drones forward. He wants to go for the evolution chamber wall or just the full block with drones.
Just positioning blocking, I think. Maybe it's a little bit too late for the evos, but here we go. We're going to try to prevent these things from going down. The first one actually gets blocked, and he gets canceled. This must be a phenomenal start for Serral.
Wow, I feel like this is a defense I haven't seen. The 4 drones getting a cancel on the spine. I didn't know that was a thing, but there we go. Now the spine stop it so much later, and seconds are so valuable in a build like this because your lings are going to be out. You can take the fight to those spine crawlers way sooner and stop them from ever coming up.
Yep, you gotta love this for Serral. It feels like we're seeing a lot of red and really not all that much blue. Darkness is gonna try to guide a little bit, try to make Serral indecisive on whether or not he should go for the spines or the lings. But I'm loving everything about this defense of Serral so far. But the spine is gonna go up. But a single spine, that can't really be enough, because we don't even have the 3 spines. So this is not when you have a spine crawl on the low ground too. Serral probably wants to prevent this from going down for a split second though. So we're gonna pull the drones and the lings one more time. But with 15 against 3 workers, I have a hard time believing that Dark is really gonna get him much done here.
No, it's not even gonna be close. Serral holds on, and what a defense. I do not think I've seen that before, Roddy. The 4 drones and just patrolling to block and then targeting the first spine down.
Right.
Yeah, phenomenal. He does what Serral does, right? He comes up with new ways to hold these kind of things and says, hey, you think I'm weak to this stuff? Not anymore.
Think again. I mean, I feel like Rogue and Dark have done this successfully in the past against Serral. But I'm with you. At first, it's like, are we going to build evos? No. I feel like it's a little bit too late for that. And then it's like, no, I'm just going to prevent the spines from morphing. The second spine couldn't actually go down because it was blocked by one of the drones. Then Serral turned around immediately and gets a cancel on one of the spines. And you said it, every second matters in these all-ins. And just buying yourself a 5 or 7 second buffer, yeah, that's all it really takes to suddenly make this build look a little bit silly. And Dark is probably sitting there like, damn it, why did I do this? Because as much as we always compliment Serral just for being super solid across the board, being good in almost every aspect of StarCraft 2, when it comes to Dark, sure, he plays a lot against Rogue. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. That goes for everyone. But Dark looked phenomenal in the late game against Rogue. He actually looked levels above Rogue. It's just that Rogue is intimidating in the early game and in the mid game. But when it comes to Lurkers and Vipers, I think Dark is as good as the European Zergs.
Oh, no. When it goes to late game, Dark, I think, is the most terrifying, right? He is so good. His control is insane in those stages, and we've seen it time and time again. Once he gets there, he can just be dominant. So, obviously, trying to be tricky, that didn't work out for him. We'll see what he tries to do this time around, but Serral will get that 1-0 lead to start us off.
Off to a flying start. Jonas Sutala officially starts his mission of winning the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice for the first time in his career. And I think it's so bizarre. I mean, while we were sitting here waiting for this match to start, it was like, hey, there's Serral. We've barely been talking about him. We haven't really seen him, you know. When you compare Serral to a guy like Rain or Clem, they will always walk into the green room and says like, hey, how are you guys doing? A slightly different vocabulary. And they banter a little bit, but Jonas always a little on his own. Just eye on the prize, non-stop practice. And this is really the first time we actually get to see a lot of him.
I know. I feel like I've seen everyone at least walking around a little bit or being here and there. I haven't seen Serral at all. He was sat down. I was like, oh my god, he's right there. He's wearing a white jersey. It was a little bit of a shock. So, yeah, and then he comes in. We're going to see 3 minutes of him in the first game. Hopefully a little bit more in game number 2.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and hop into game number 2 in the bottom left side of Hardwire. The man who's up 1-0 representing ENS Esports. This is Serral.
In the top right-hand corner, no pool first this time around. Our Blue Zerg player is, of course, Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Dark.
Just because we don't see a pull first doesn't mean that Dark is not going to be aggressive. We know that the man loves to produce a lot of links and a lot of roaches, especially in the mid game. I do think he's pretty good with the Spire play as well. I've seen him on both ends of the spectrum, being the roach corruptor guy and also, of course, being the Muda guy. And I think he prefers being the Muda guy.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of benefits to being the Muta guy as well, right? It feels as though the Mutas are much nicer to play sometimes than trying to play against them. So I feel like both would kind of like to be the Muta guy if they see the opportunity.
Of course, this is the opening match for both players in Group B, so losing here is not the end of the world. But whoever wins here puts himself in pole position to potentially win this group, and that means skipping out to round of 12. And we all know that that is a big luxury to have, because right now, if you think about the players you could meet in the round of 12, Rogue, Cure, no, excuse me, Dream. Yeah, Rogue and Dream, and that's going to be strong. Doesn't really matter who finishes in second and third place of Group D. That's always going to be terrifying. That could be Maru, that could be Clam, could be Rain, it could be Beyond, or even Scarlet or Zaun. So winning the group is a big deal, and whoever wins between these two will probably feel like, all right, I think I'm going to win the group.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to be primed and set to win it all, and of course then, yeah, like you say, that round of 8 start is not just who you might not play. You just get to rest a little bit more on the Saturday leading up. You play a round of 8 match without having been there 6 hours earlier, right? A lot of little things that add up in these competitions. And especially now that we're back on land, right? You know, these guys, they got to come into the venue again and all this. This is something we've not done for a long time. So all these, you know, little benefits, they go a long way. Third hatchery's going down immediately, Roddy. Everything is very standard so far in this game. Dark will be the first to drop the Baneling Nest down. Yep,
it's not a hidden Baneling Nest, so I'm kind of just seeing this as a safety Baneling Nest. The Baneling Nest we're supposed to make in this matchup. Otherwise, you could be in trouble if your opponent attacks you with a lot of Links and Banes. Serral is going to fire up a lot of Links and no Baneling Nest yet. That gives us the idea that maybe he wants to skip the Baneling Nest completely. Just make sure that you're aggressive a little bit and then drop the Roach one at home. Okay, no, we do get a Baneling Nest just a little bit later. Maybe it's because the Links of Dark showed up and he's like, if I wanted to skip it, it's probably a little bit risky in case he's already morphing Banelings on my side of the map.
Yeah, you can see Dark responding to this by making Lings of his own, so he will get ready to defend the third hatchery. Losing the third hatch puts you into such a bad position here, so you have to make sure you can defend that, and that's what Dark will set up to do. His first Baneling morphing in to help along with this, and obviously then Serral will be able to morph Banes back at home himself now that his Baneling Nest is coming through. Thinks about darting through for the fight, but just doesn't seem to think it's worthwhile at the end.
Careful, he is
going to try and grab a queen. Yeah, that's one thing you've got to be careful of.
Dark is firing up a lot of Overlords, by the way. A few more than I feel like you would normally do when it comes to perfect macro play. It does open the door for him to make a lot of extra Links. Maybe never stop building Links. We'll see. Dark is going to send his first set of Links to the other side of the map. He also has 2 Banelings morphing apparently on this side of the map. They were done already. This is going to be a little bit dicey for Serral, because I didn't see any Banelings yet for Serral. There they are on the left, but one of the queens is in a very rough spot and is going to get picked off. Let's say first a little advantage for Dark, but Serral does have a pretty big drone advantage already.
Yeah, he really does. Up by 7, and if he defends this right now, he's going to be in a great spot. Gets rid of that Baneling. Can he protect his queen as well? A Baneling coming in. He doesn't quite save the queen, but he'll get one more Baneling here with the queen target fire. And as it keeps a couple of Banes alive on the right side, looks as though it's a good defense from Serral. Up 9 workers, and Dark only got 4 drones in production. So even this round isn't going to catch him back up. Yep,
just solid defense there by Serral. Sure, we lost 2 queens. The first one was kind of inevitable. The second one went down, but in the end, Serral was the one to squeeze out all those workers a bit earlier. So he's going to be able to produce a few more units down the line. Dark, I feel like he knows that he just needs a little bit more. That's why he's still just kind of building Links and drones. Of course, he's trying to catch up in the drone department. Can these 2 Banelings make the difference for Dark? It doesn't really feel like it. The fact that Serral lost his queens is a bit annoying, but the additional queens are about to pop. And Serral also passes the second test, and I think that Yona is quite happy with where he's at in this game. His first Roach is already on the way. The Roach Wine of Dark only going down now.
Yeah, great micro across the board, obviously, there in the Ling Bane fight as Serral finishes up a whole chunk of Overlords. More Roach is going to be starting up as Dark is going to be taking a worker lead, while Serral might just be looking to get across the map. These last couple of Banelings want to go down. Keep your Lings alive, because that's one thing that Serral might still have in his favor here. Just having a Ling Bane count. The Dark has now used up being aggressive, as the Queen is just maybe going to die to Banelings of all things. Not every day you see that, but yeah. Serral made a round of units, but now he's actually going to go back to drones himself, as Dog still has Molding Bane coming through. This is non-stop.
Classic, I think, Korean ZVZ, where they show up with more units when you don't expect it anymore. European ZVZ in general, a bit more streamlined. We make a bunch of links. Okay, we can't do anything. Then we go into drones and we go into roaches. But the Koreans are really good in finding this fine line between a few extra units, a few drones, and before you know it, you blink twice and like, hey, I was ahead and now I'm suddenly behind. And that is kind of what is happening here, as Dark still has a surprising amount of Zerglings out and about on the map. I don't know where the Banelings of Yona are. There are 2 Banelings there protecting his hatchery. Good little trade for Dark. Splits off a couple of links as well, picks off a drone. Dark is playing well here in game 2.
Yeah, he really is. Serral gets a little counter-attack for a drone or 2 as well, but he is just, Serral in general now, down in workers. He's going to get back ahead with this round of drones while Dark is building roaches, so he continues to ping-pong back and forth. Both players have the lair at the same time as well, so that roach speed will be similarly timed. We will see if anyone wants to try and risk the step towards Mutalusks.
I wonder if Serral's going to turn around now, or if he's just going to try to defend this hatchery with the last few Banelings he left behind. This, of course, opens the doors at the Dark side of the map for Serral to potentially find a bit of damage, but Dark also has safety Banelings. Roaches are starting to come up in pretty decent numbers. Dark maybe misreading this a little bit. I don't think those spines are necessary at all, but he saw that Serral didn't turn around, and he's like, uh-oh, am I in trouble? No, you're not. I'd love to see him cancel at least one of the spines, because I think 2 spines is overkill.
Yeah, absolutely. Not necessary. We can see that Serral's up at the same drone count as him. As you see, a couple drones get to the mineral line, so that's 4 drones. So never mind. Back to a worker lead for Dark here. It has been non-stop, this action, and you know, we saw Dark defending well, also had Balins defensively shut down a couple of Banes of Serral that tried to slip into the 3rd base. Now with Roach speed on the way up from both, we drone again, and we really are going to start getting towards a more standard Roach on Roach game. Serral will be the one to drop down Aspire, attempt the Mutalusks.
Yeah, interesting that he dropped Aspire while an Overseer is in his base. I guess we dropped it in the back of our natural, if our observer could just show us. Yes, it is. I feel like that's almost too obvious when that first Overseer is already there, but Dark did not go into the natural, didn't want to lose his Overseer, so he will just come back a little bit later. Pretty risky play by Serral. Then again, just because you build a spy, that doesn't mean you cannot spend your money anymore. You can, of course, still build roaches and just play it safe. It's just 400 resources that you temporarily won't get anything out of, but maybe way down the line can make all the difference.
Oh, absolutely. The Plus 1 carapace starting up here from Dark as well, so he will start to move into even further upgrades. Serral doesn't want to build that. He wants to save some of his gas for that Spire play if he's going to make use of it. Dark obviously taking a 4th, as will Serral. Bit of a different setup on the 4th base as Serral moves forward while Dark moves along to the side. Interesting choices. I feel like the sideways one for Dark might be a little bit worse for meters.
Yeah, I mean, that Spire is close to finishing up now, and Serral does have 500 gas in the bank. If he wants to spend all of it, he could potentially get 7 or 8 Mutas. And once we get 7 or 8 Mutalisk out, Dark has absolutely no aggressive anti-air. I don't think we can really do anything. Even if we have a few more Roaches, we have a few more Ravages, the Mutas are just going to right-click those Ravages down immediately. I think that Dark is going to kick himself a little bit for not flying into that natural, not seeing that Spire when it actually went down, because now 7 meters are on the way. And correct me if I'm wrong, Waddy, but I think the only thing that Dark can do is start building Spore Crawlers and maybe drop a Hydra Den or an Infestation Pit, because aggressively, I just don't think we can get anything done anymore.
Yeah, he'll just have to make a choice between which of the techs he wants to go for. The Mutas show themselves on Overlords, and obviously none of those have pulled back either, so Serral, not a lot of Mutas, but we'll just be happy to slowly get rid of Ovies. That's money Dark has to spend. Dark's coming across the map. Yeah, this is where the Mutas are just going to click on the Ravagers, and now you got to kind of question. I mean, he did get across the map without being under fire, but the Mutas will be a constant source of damage throughout this. Dark gets a good concave to start, and Serral's 4th base will be in trouble.
Pretty adventurous call here by Dark, but it seems to be working out. Lings into the main base too. I feel like Dark should probably just kill this hatchery and then disengage, because there are still quite a few Roaches as well, but Dark is going to stick around. He wants to get on top of the Roaches of Serral too. I kind of think just getting the hatch and going home would have been the better call. I don't know if the Lings found any success. And it seems like we have quite a few Queens at the same time. Serral's also counter-attacking with a couple of Zerglings. Doors wide open on Dark side of the map. Of course, Serral can just continue building Mutalisk. And Dark still doesn't have great anti-air. We did drop the Hydra Den. We're working on our first Hydra upgrade. But with only a single Spore Crawler, a couple of Queens, I think these Mutas are going to be proper annoying to deal with.
Dark's about to pay for the fact that he just gave up so many units in that attack as well, right? He doesn't have the army supply lead anymore. We'll see if his defensive advantage can be enough, but he might pay for this with his own 4th base. Serral will have the position on this as well. He goes quite far forward. Not just happy with the base, wanted to jump on that army there. Re-engaging now. Serral's a bit more clumped up. The Mutas are not nearby. With Hydras coming out, maybe the Mutas can't engage in here anymore. They're going to find themselves another Overlord or so over here, but a Transfusion will save it. And Dark will be away. Getting out of a little supply block as well. He needs to be careful of that. He's not quite freed up to go to maxed out just yet.
And Dark does have that +1 Carapace upgrade, so that obviously works out defensively. I'm really surprised to see Baneling speed on the way for Serral. I feel like that's something you normally see if the Muta player has 2 extra bases and 85 workers, and then we're just going to morph a bunch of Banelings to connect with the Hydras. Right now, this feels a bit adventurous to me, and 19 Banelings feels like a massive investment. And obviously, Serral's not all that rich after losing that 4th hatchery. Pretty crazy call. I don't normally see this in these kinds of games.
Yeah, I mean, it basically makes this one big timing before Lurkers get out, because enough Lurkers just shut down Banelings, then they're completely useless. That investment isn't worthwhile. So Serral wants to win this here, and he wants to win this now, but I feel like Dog might just be a bit too good defensively at the moment. He's not overbuilt Hydras. It's a lot of Roach Ravagers still. I think he's going to be okay.
Yep, I think maybe Serral was indeed hoping that Dark wouldn't build as many Roaches and Ravagers as he did. Here we go, the Banelings show up. The Lurkers are not quite ready yet. Can the Banelings make the difference for Serral and put him into a great position in this group and get the 2-0 lead? I like the micro of Dark so far, but Serral does still have quite a few units.
Yeah, those Banelings are forcing Dark to just constantly run, so he was missing quite a few attacks while Serral seemed to be hitting every single time. The Banes did a decent amount of splash, and Serral gets a great trade. He comes out of this 50 supply ahead, and he's going to get this base on the exit as well, keeps his units alive. The Mutas are picking off Hydras as we go, and Serral's going to turn around and keep on fighting now, get the Mutas back involved while there's no Hydras nearby. Couple more Roaches, why the heck not? And with reinforcements coming across the map, Serral might have just done it.
Yep, now we're just going to wait for that second wave. Serral had like 28 Roaches in production. He just wants to make sure all of them actually make it to the other side of the map before he goes in again. He also managed to get his own +1 Carapace. The only thing that Dark can do is just try to get 1 or 2 Lurkers out and see if those can keep you alive. But Serral's not going to give him the time. Bounces on this army as well. And the Roach Ravager Baneling of a relatively weak economy gets it done. Little fist bump by the great Jonas Satala there as well, as he is off to a flying start in the Intel